College girl became millionaire overnight until she made a few mistakes. She was trying to keep her mind entertained, but the mere thought of what was about to come kept creeping up on her. She couldn't concentrate on anything other than the knot in her stomach. The rising anxiety was too much for her to handle, and she was starting to choke up on the thought of them coming to get her. They were really close, so she knew it may be time to run away, fast. 21-year-old Christine Jackson Lee attended Sydney University, where she was studying electrical engineering. She was on the right path and was enjoying and living life, as she was also pretty much loaded. But she wasn't shy about flaunting her wealth. She loved to carry her latest purchase, a Hermes Birkin bag that retails for $1,500. She loved to show it off to anyone who cared to see it, even if they didn't ask. She truly believed that no one would discover her wrongdoings. Christine loved to splurge and go on random shopping sprees, but none of her friends cared to find out how she could afford such a lavish lifestyle, especially given her age. They just assumed she came from a rich family, and her parents, who lived in Malaysia, were the ones supporting her lifestyle. Then, one day, she was surprised to know she was under investigation. Christine knew she was playing with fire, but that didn't stop her from getting into this mess. She'd recently received a whopping $4.6 million in 11 months. But how is this possible? The young girl went off the rails and started giving in to temptation, virtually buying everything she could have ever wanted. She was dressed from head to toe in designer outfits, but she knew in her back of her mind that she wasn't going to have that money forever. She had to be on her game, right? Christine was a bit surprised when she realized the money in her account seemed to stretch a little further. She just assumed everyone else was doing the same. For a while, she even figured out that her parents must have been the ones depositing money into her account to help her pay for things. And while that's partly true, it didn't really explain why she was able to withdraw so much money. Now she was about to face the long arm of the law. She knew she wouldn't be able to hide from authorities for too long, but she needed to give it a shot. She wasn't about to go back to being just a regular girl, particularly now that she was loving her new lifestyle. She went the extra mile and started hiding her money in other bank accounts and proceeded to apply for an emergency passport to Malaysia. She was looking to flee Sydney and get back to her parents, where she innocently believed she'd be safe and free from the police. Christine was living most people's wildest fantasies, spending money on luxurious items, but she was particularly fond of what the money did for her reputation. Everyone knew her as the rich girl on campus, and she wasn't about to let go of her status. If she would have been smarter about her expenditures, maybe none of this would have happened. But she would soon find out that none of that cash actually belonged to her. Her luxurious bags and outfits were all packed up and she was ready to go. She just had to wait for her emergency passport application, and the second she got it, she'd run away from this mess. But she quickly realized that there's no way to escape your responsibilities, as finally she got caught by authorities. Christine was arrested as she was trying to board the plane, but she didn't seem to understand the gravity of the situation. Inside, she was dripping in sweat and fear, though. She knew she needed to stay calm because she didn't want to be held accountable over the $4.6 million they were after. She thought she'd be able to live off her wildest fantasies for a bit longer, but she knew one day it'd all come to an end. As you probably imagined, the $4.6 million in her bank account wasn't actually hers to spend. Thanks to a glitch in Westpac's banking system, Christine had been able to overdraw unlimited amounts of cash. She'd been living everyone else's wildest dreams and spending mad money like it was nothing for 11 months. Christine's designer clothes, accessories, bags, and cell phones were seized and collected while the investigation was pending. She was forbidden from leaving the country. Now everyone knew what she had done, and it was time for her to face the consequences of her actions. But no one could have predicted how this case would end, really. Christine claimed to be totally innocent about the bank's glitch in the banking system, and they had a bunch of evidence proving she was well aware of the situation. Knowing one day she'd get caught, Christine had withdrawn large sums of cash and deposited it to her other bank accounts. She felt like this was it. She was about to pay for what she'd done. But then something happened which pretty much shocked everyone. Unexpectedly, authorities decided to drop all charges against the girl who'd been living life like a queen for the last year. Apparently, a similar case had been previously thrown out of court. Christine and her lawyer were ecstatic. She's happy it's behind her and to move on with her life. It's a very interesting case and an interesting outcome. It's obviously clear the bank should adopt better policies. Once her case was dropped, Christine moved back to Malaysia. No one knows if everything she'd bought with the stolen funds will be returned to her, as there's still a possibility a civil case can be opened against her. No matter what happens, Christine's been keeping a pretty low profile ever since the whole world learned about how she accidentally became a millionaire, which earned her an impressive following on social media. Can you imagine what it must be like to become an instant millionaire like Christine? What would you have done in her place? Would you have followed in her footsteps, spending all that cash on every little thing your heart wanted? Or would you have reported the mistake? Christine Lee was able to live like a royal for 11 months before she was apprehended by cops. But what would you have done in her place?